It's time for TWiT. We go to France for the news from the EG8 Summit with Patrick Beja. Malik talks about the stock market and whether we're in a tech bubble. And Amber MacArthur's here with advice for power friending. It's all coming up next on TWiT.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Audio bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by Winamp for Android, the ultimate media player for your desktop and Android device, featuring wireless sync. Download it free at winamp.com/Android. Video bandwidth for TWiT is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 303, recorded May 29th, 2011. Duck, it's Zuck. This Week in Tech is brought to you by GoToMeeting. Meet easily with colleagues, even when traveling or working remotely. For your free 30-day trial, visit gotomeeting.com, promo code TWiT. And by Audible.com. Sign up for the Platinum Plan and get 2 free books. Go to audible.com/TWiT2. And don't forget to follow Audible on Twitter, user ID Audible_com. And by Ford and the 100% reinvented 2011 Ford Explorer. With room for 7 passengers, best-in-class V6 highway fuel economy, and available sync with My Ford Touch, the 2011 Ford Explorer is perfect for your adventures with the family. For more information and to participate in the Mostly Photo Adventure Awards, visit mostlyphotoadventures.com. It's time for TWiT, This Week in Tech, the show that covers the tech news from the week gone by, and there was a whole heck of a lot of it. Because it's the Memorial Day weekend here in the U.S. of A., we have decided to put together a practically international panel. we almost got 100% international, but that's okay. We'll start with Canada. Amber MacArthur is here. I don't have to introduce Amber MacArthur. Everybody knows Amber from The Social Hour, my host on Call for Help many moons ago.
Hey, it's good to be on the show. It's been a while.
Yeah. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And she's calling from Toronto.
Yes, I am in Toronto. I'm home, and it has surpassed patio weather. You'll be happy to hear, Leo.
It's nice and hot there, huh?
It's getting there, yeah. It's definitely heating up. You
and Sarah are doing such a great job with The Social Hour, which is kind of just the rebranded version of the show Inside the Net. Then it was Net at Night, and now it's The Social Hour. The internet keeps changing, damn it.
I know, and we keep changing, but it's been a great experience over the past 10 episodes, and she's so much fun to work with.
Sarah's
hilarious.
Great.
She's
and
great.
I love the show. Sarah is, Sarah's role at TWiT is to keep me informed on what the trends are. So I figure she really should be doing a show about, internet trends.
Oh, yeah, she's perfect, and we have lots of audience participation, and so it's been really fun just doing some episodes with her, and lots to look forward to. And she's great at producing, too, Leo. That's the nice thing. She really understands how to package a show and kind of put it together with lots of different elements. It's
my new favorite show, actually, on TWiT. If you have not seen it, The Social Hour, you do the show on Mondays, and it's available for download almost immediately at twit.tv/ I think we still have it on night, though, right? Twit.tv, is it /NATN, Jammer B?
I'm not sure.
It's SH?
You're talking about the website?
Yeah,
TSH.
twit.tv/TSH. Thank you. Also with us today, Mr. Malik, who's got money in his pocket.
Not in my pocket. I don't even have a pocket.
Is the guy behind Giga which is a great site, and also has his own new newsletter, which is, how many weeks old is this, says?
It's about 8 weeks old.
Okay. Good. And it's a paid subscription?
No, it's I write it when I have something important to say. I don't write it just to fill up space. So it's free, and you sign up, and sometimes I write 4 times a week, sometimes I write twice a week, and sometimes I don't. It's only when I have something to say, that's when I go for it.
I think that's a great idea.
I think there's just too much noise on the internet, so what I'm trying to do is not add to it.
Doesn't it feel, I'm sure it does feel like, as a blogger, you've just got to post every day, and even if you have nothing important to say.
Well, we have a great team, so they post interesting things every day. I try and refrain myself from doing you know, just adding more noise to people's life.
Right.
That's what
right. I like it. But why don't you charge for it, Alma? You could probably charge $100 a month for this.
No, but, you know, this is, I would have written this as a blog post and I would have given it away as free. So there's no difference in that. It just goes out as an email. And then later in the day, like about 12 hours later, it goes up as a blog post. So I don't think you can charge for something you've been giving away for free for so long.
It's interesting. I guess newsletters are kind of back. For a while, it seemed like nobody was doing it. Now everybody is. Everybody I know wants to write a newsletter.
There you go.
Yep.
And I am calling from People's Republic of California, which is pretty much...
That's international.
That's international.
It's good to have you. Now, from France, we've got Patrick Beja.
Hey, it's nice to be back.
Not Patrick on Twitter.
That's me.
And he hosts a bunch of podcasts.
I should really do what Om is doing, but actually when I have something to say, just go on Twitter. So it's not that smart. I should start a
You're giving it away.
newsletter too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although Twitter is only 140 characters, I find that actually a great relief. Because posting a long blog post, it takes me a long time.
Yeah, usually what I have to say is not that complicated.
Right.
140 characters is way enough.
Right. We actually, I'm glad Patrick's here because one of our top stories is the G8. The G8 summit is coming to France next week. All the leaders of the major developed nations, the U.S., Canada, France, England, Germany, and so forth. The G8 summit. The week before, President Sarkozy, who's not known for being a champion of the free internet, threw a little party for internet bigwigs, including Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos of Amazon, Eric Schmidt of Google, to create a white paper, a position paper, to present to the G8 leaders on how the internet should be regulated. The fear was, I know Cory Doctorow wrote, "I'm not going to go because this is just an attempt to get us to kind of rubber stamp something that I can't possibly agree with." Sarkozy's so notorious for his kind of pro-business, anti-free internet stance. What did the EGA end up being like, Patrick?
Well, I guess it's difficult to explain because a lot of people were expecting it to be something that it wasn't meant to be. I think what you have to remember is we in the tech world know what we should be doing and what works and what doesn't work, even from a technical standpoint. Let's set aside the ethical and moral implications of regulating the internet. But you have to remember that the governments do not know what the hell even that internet thing is. So I was one of the very few voices, I think, that thought this EG8 was actually a good idea because it was the governments recognizing that maybe they didn't have all the answers and trying to include everyone in the conversation. And of course, at first, they're going to ask the people that they know and the people that they would go to anyway who have no clue either, you know, the music lobby and the movie lobby and intellectual property rights holders. But it's a willingness to open the conversation. And I think we have to be part of that conversation and just look at how much voice, you know, Jeff got and JP Barlow got and a few others, and compare that to things like ACTA and the Protect IP Act, which are complete horrors negotiated in secret. So it's starting the conversation, I think.
I think you're absolutely right. You know, I was one of the people invited, thanks to Loic Lemer, and couldn't go because of family emergency. But I was really glad to see Jeff Jarvis of our This Week in Google show go. And he wrote a blog post before he left saying, I'm going to try to get Sarkozy and others to essentially sign a Hippocratic oath for the internet, that first and foremost, government would do no harm. Jeff and I and many others, I know John Perry Barlow, believe that government should just keep its mitts off of the internet, that the pendulum has swung too far in the direction of rights holders. And, you know, I felt like, yeah, even if there's going to be some attempt to kind of whitewash what we say, if we don't come to the table, then we've kind of lost our right to complain. So I was...
Yeah, there's definitely part of that. And I mean, there's a lot of people who think there's bad intentions to begin with. Like, okay, we'll say that they were included and we'll do what we want anyway. But that they could have done even without the EG8. And remember, this is related to the G8, which is, if you want to talk to governments, there's no bigger venue. And also, I have to say, as much as I appreciate the intent behind the Hippocratic Oath, I think there's a little bit of a disconnect between what we know and, you know, you can't tell the government, first, do no harm to the internet. They won't even understand what that is about.
Well, it didn't. That's actually what Sarkozy's reaction was. Well, what do you mean? Of course I'm not going to do any harm to the internet. Because they don't understand that the kinds of restrictions like the 3 strikes law they're talking about, they don't understand that that's perceived by many as harmful. They say, no, we're just protecting rights holders. You wouldn't want an internet where piracy was rampant and widespread. That's not good. Do no harm means preventing that. Yeah,
exactly. And Sarkozy was a little bit, you know, aghast. He ended up regaining his composure after
I thought he was quite
5 minutes of... No, he answered quite well in the end, but at first he was like, you do know what do you mean? Of course.
Right. Omer, do you have a thought about this? Did you follow the EG8 summit?
So I was also invited. I refused to go for one basic reason, which is that, you know, I don't, given a man has to prove his intent by his actions and not by empty words. So when a politician invites me for something, I'm already on guard because, and the French president has had a pretty bad track record of being, you know, I think, you know, you made a comment earlier saying that anti-business and anti-internet. I think those are two, I think you can be pro-business and pro-internet at the same time. And all you need is to think differently about what internet represents. So from that perspective, I thought this was a bit of a sham. And frankly, this is a group of people, group of countries which are trying to define the internet when the internet is going to be defined by 2.5 billion people who were not really represented in the G8.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it's actually arrogant and you know, annoying to see French people trying to define what the future of the internet looks like. If I need to know that, I think the dialogue has to be with people from, you know, the representatives of China, representatives of India, people from Brazil, Russia.
That's a good point.
And from people of the African continent.
But you have to start somewhere, Om. I mean,
that's incredibly disingenuous. You're talking in theory, in theoretical, yes, ideally that should be the case, but you know that's never going to be that way, at least not in the short term. The people who are going to decide how things are handled are, you know, the US first and then France and the other countries in the G8. We can't...
I disagree with you entirely on that, because if you look at how China and Brazil and India and Russia are evolving as internet economies, they're not taking their cue from the U.S. They're doing that's an entirely different kind of an internet forming. They have a whole different, you know, DNA when it comes to the internet. I think what we are talking about is two different internets, because the internet as we've known so far has been very Western, you know, influenced. But I think now it's beginning to change, and I think that is what. Sorry, Amber, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I just, you know, one thing that just comes to mind when we're talking about this is I wonder how a group of people who come together at a conference like this, which is, you know, kind of an international conference, can really talk about the fate of the internet when I view it as something that is really country specific. And when I say that, I think of Canada, for instance, where there are people in this country who are fighting and have been fighting a long time with the government to make sure that the major telcos don't restrict bandwidth and have plans that are based on bandwidth. And we're really fighting towards eliminating those type of plans. So even though a group of people, I think internationally, who get together and talk about the future of the internet, I think that's a great thing. I really see this as something where, you know, country by country, it's treated so differently.
I guess I understand what you're saying, though, is that it's like a recasting of the white man's burden, that these 8 nations should decide something for the whole world is kind of foolish. But and I agree, it wasn't ideal, but that's why I wanted to go. At least you kind of have to, at some point, you have to start the conversation. Would you prefer to see some other conference?
Not a conference. I think the government actually has to keep its, you know,
keep before it gets
involved. Yeah, exactly. And before they do that, they actually need to educate themselves and not have conferences. They need to know. And I absolutely, you know, I see it locally here in the U.S. We have, you know, lawmakers who have, you know, some of them have not even used email, and they are trying to regulate the law. So, you know, it just is, you have to be, this is not a conversation which happens at a conference, which is basically it was more to showcase, you know, a certain person as like a future leader. That's
Sarkozy.
Yeah.
So, well, there is some of this, definitely, and absolutely. I don't want to be naive and say that he wasn't, you know, trying to make something political out of it. But what you were saying is some people who don't have email are writing laws about the internet. That's exactly the issue, and I think this is their way of saying, okay, what we've been trying until now is not working, so let's talk and let's have a conversation. And I also think that we're talking about 2 different things. When you're saying we should include all the, you know, China and Brazil and these other countries that are indeed huge and that will matter a lot, this is not exactly what we're talking about here. We're talking more about what Amber was mentioning, which is net neutrality and restricting bandwidth and how to protect IP and very immediate issues that are threatening to break the internet from our rich countries' perspective.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget that ACTA, which is probably the single most destructive treaty with regards to the internet, is really a product of U.S. Intellectual property rights companies, of the movie companies, the record industry, who influenced the World Intellectual Property Organization, the United Nations WIPO, to create this. It was being sent from country to country without discussion, in secret, and had it not been uncovered by Michael Geist in Toronto, or actually I guess he's up in Waterloo. Ottawa. Had it not been uncovered by Michael Geist, we may never have known that this was going on. That's coming from us, so it seems not inappropriate for the G8, you know, for people like us to come and say, "Hey, stop it." But
and the thing is, sorry,
go ahead, Patrick.
The thing is, to us, these things seem monstrous and asinine as they relate to the internet and the way it functions, but these people who are deciding all of this don't see it, don't understand. It's like, you know, trying to explain what sight is to a blind person. It's very difficult to make them understand what that is and why it is bad. So that's why we need to go there and explain to them and shout at them, partly, you know, in the way that Jeff did, and tell them, stop, you're being insane in this. They don't see it that way.
Oh, what would you have preferred to see?
Well, I would have preferred to have a long discourse on this and long conversation, which is not, you know, not posturing in public, at least, or in one-on-one conversations with people who actually can make a difference, and not just a few people, but a more wider group. See, what is IP in one country is not IP in another country. What is bandwidth, like unlimited bandwidth in one country is not necessarily the economics in another country. So the web and the internet is changing itself. And I think the bigger picture, when you look at all this, I think the big picture, which we frame things in aspect of just certain specific issues, whereas one has to look at this big internet as a bigger change. It's like, what does it really mean? So the conversation should have been, if they wanted to talk about it, what is the reality of internet economy? How does it impact job creation? How does it impact our education system? How does it impact our retail businesses? So those are the areas where government has a more, tangible role to play. They need to kind of come up with thought processes around what do taxes look like in an internet-enabled economy, right? Like this is not 1995, this is 2010, 2011, and our economy is now driven by the network, not the other way around. Previously, the network was driven by the overall economy. Now it's an entirely different way of thinking about it. So, just to talk about certain intellectual property issues, and those are talking about certain specific, problems. There is a much bigger, wider change which is going on, and that's where government and lawmakers have a role to play. And I think that's one thing I didn't hear from this conference. So that's one thing I would love to see.
Mm-hmm. I think.
Go ahead, Emmer.
I was just going to say, just, speaking as a Canadian, I mean, I think on the positive side, I think, I really applaud this actually happening, because I think it opens up dialogue. And that's something we always fight for on the internet, is we want to be heard. And I know in Canada, for example, there is no way Stephen Harper, who is our prime minister, would ever invite a group of people who are technical to a meeting with him and his government. It would never happen in an open forum or an open environment. So in some ways, I think France is ahead of the game with that.
Whatever Sarkozy's agenda was.
Yes, exactly.
And you also have to, sorry, I'm interrupting everyone. The delay is not kind to me. The way I saw that event is a little bit of a networking event, and it's to get people to know each other. And maybe at this point, the people who are writing the laws are asking the IP holders what they should do, but maybe in 6 months or in a year, they'll ask Jeff Jarvis or JP Barlow, they'll get to know them. And okay, maybe I'm having my rose-colored glasses on this. But, no, but how could they even have known that these issues were issues? They live in a different world.
Well, that's the question, and I think that what Ohm's saying is they didn't care. They weren't even interested in that. This was a dog and pony show. And I have to say, I have a feeling that no matter what you say to Nicolas Sarkozy about this, you're not going to change his mind, Patrick.
Not his mind, but it's not like he is the one, writing the laws.
Well, it's interesting because President Obama did not even want the internet on the agenda at G8. And this was something that Sarkozy kind of bulldozed through. I think Obama quite reasonably thought this is probably not maybe, I don't know, maybe he even agrees with Ohm that this is not an appropriate conversation for that particular group. Certainly he did not want to get in the business of regulating the internet. That's such a thorny subject. And there are bigger issues.
Well, bigger issues maybe, but first of all, if we don't talk about it, we get ACTA. Second of all, with that event, if nothing else, we got Jeff in front of many cameras around the world.
Yeah, he'll never be invited back, I can guarantee you.
Maybe. I don't know. But at least the press is now interested in.
I mean, Jeff really did exactly what I was hoping he would do. He did a great job. And I kind of took the easy way out. I did have a family emergency, but it made it convenient for me to kind of avoid the conversation entirely. I really was looking forward to going. But I was shaken by people like Corey and Ohm's criticism of the event, and I just don't know. I mean, I feel on the one hand it's good to have these conversations. Look at all the conversation that's gone on because of this. I don't think you're going to educate the world leaders at a forum like this, but at least the conversation is going on. I guess what you're saying, Ohm, is that it's a false. I guess what you're saying, Ohm, is that it's a false premise that this could even be discussed at this kind of event.
Leo, you've been around long enough, just like me. When we had the last time technology was hip and cool, all the politicians were all talking about, internet and new laws and new ways of thinking about it. And the minute economy, took a little nosedive and everybody just vanished into thin air. And I kind of, maybe I'm a little cynical and skeptical, but I don't see, this needs a lot more thoughtful, engagement than just a quick, media show.
I agree.
Oh, I agree on that too, but I guess my question is to both of you, what's the harm? You know, but worst case scenario, things don't change and we keep on the road to ACTA. Best case scenario, we get a little bit more publicity.
What's the harm, Om? What's the harm of doing this?
I didn't say there was any harm in doing this, so I personally opted out of it. I didn't say you shouldn't go or Patrick shouldn't go.
Right.
I have a very, you know, I don't have, you know, rose-colored glasses so I don't wear those.
I believe. I have hope. I hope we can change this.
I've seen this movie before, so that how.
And by the way, I agree 100% with you that the internet is good for business. That the real issue is that the kind of existing stakeholders want an end to competition, want an end to a free internet because they got it and they want to hold on to it. And I include Google and Facebook and Apple and all the current stakeholders in this. But really, the future, and this is, I guess, the argument, is that a free and open internet is good for the future. It's good for businesses of the future. You don't get another Google unless you have a free and open internet. And that's how we make sure that we continue to progress and continue to innovate. I think that that's an important argument. I think that that the problem was that the people who were at this event were, for the most part, current stakeholders who had an interest in the status quo, and that we really who needed to be represented was my kids and our kids' kids, the future, who have an even bigger stake in the free and open internet. You know, Sarkozy talked about a civilized internet, which kind of curiously is exactly the phrase that the Chinese government uses. I don't think you can civilize the internet. I think that's a mistake in even understanding what the internet is.
Clearly, that's my point. You know, that just says everything about the whole event. You know, civilized internet. I mean, you know, that's presumptuous to say that internet is not civilized. Just, you know, there is parts of Paris where you can go and they are not very civilized either.
That's true.
Right? And, I mean, come on. It's like, that just is, I think, you know, this is where there are a lot of people in France. I think I have a lot of admiration for people who have been championing, you know, broadband and, you know, wireless internet net neutrality in France. And yet, you know, Sarkozy and Orange are so close. And Orange has not been the friend of the internet, so to speak, right? Unless there was a company called Free, they would have not even offered to, you know, fiber and high-speed internet access and VoIP services to their customers, and they could have just kept on going, charging more money. So there is, you know, so if you're talking about a civilized internet, let's just define what is internet according to you. I think, you know, I don't want to go into like a political discussion here, but this was a lot of, you know, for me personally, to other people it may seem like a great thing. To me, it was nothing more than just a way to get cheap media points.
And they did. Hey, you're because your microphone is on your collar right there, it's rattling a little bit against your collar. I don't know exactly what we can do except encase it in rubber or something.
Do you guys realize that if my internet service provider, Rogers, is listening right now, I may start getting cut off because of this
they don't like every time we talk about this stuff, Amber loses her bandwidth. I don't know.
I lose my bandwidth right now, I only have TWiT to blame.
I have to say, Rogers is notoriously bad when it comes to the
situation in Canada is really bad. You know, talking about the government being in bed with big business, particularly with the telcos, we don't necessarily have a very bright future here with the internet. There's a couple of options as far as providers, not a whole lot of conversation. However, we do have champions out there. Leo mentioned Michael Geist, and I recommend people check out his blog because he really is fighting for more open internet and a real great person to follow on that front.
I was reading GigaOM today, the great article about the Chattanooga internet, the gigabit that the Chattanooga Power Company was providing. It was basically a civil internet, not a civilized internet, and what a success that's been for Chattanooga. And more, I really think that this is the future of the internet, is to have municipalities provide the kind of infrastructure and then have a lot of competing ISPs on top of it. And I think when I mention this, a lot of people think I'm nuts, that there's no way that that's going to happen, but it's working in Chattanooga. That's a great article, and people should read that if they want to see what the potential is for an amazing success story. Gigabit, and good for business. Really good for business.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break. Malik is here from Giga and his new newsletter, Says. More signal, less noise. Amber MacArthur, my old buddy from the Social Hour and CP24, and, of course, the great CommandN.tv, and Patrick Beja, not Patrick, on Twitter, who, for some reason, I don't fully understand, has a whole bunch of English language podcasts. Are you nuts? What are you, nuts? And makes a regular appearance on TNT. But you got the Movilicious, the Phileas Club. One day I'm going to be on that show.
I hope so. Yeah.
It's kind of It's kind of an international TWiT is the idea behind that. And
a TWiT for international news where we get people from different countries and cultures. And just this weekend we had someone from Saudi Arabia, Australia, France, and the U.S. discussing Bin Laden's death and the Dominique Strauss-Kahn scandal. Very interesting.
Yeah, that was an interesting time. I think there was more attention paid to that, the scandal, the IMF chairman scandal, than there was to the E-G8 summit or even the G8. You know, I misspoke because the G8's over. I didn't even. Yeah. There was hardly any. EG8 got more ink than the G8. There's hardly anything.
That was my impression too.
Yeah. Oddly enough, Mark Zuckerberg apparently presented to the G8, presented the results of the EG8 to the G8. I didn't see how that went. Mark likes to kill his own meat. We're going to talk about that in just a second.
Can I just conclude on that EG8 thing?
Yes.
Just to get us all in agreement, at least to try. I guess the thing that we should try to get is to put the internet issues and the technology issues on the to have them become electoral issues, and maybe that event makes enough noise that maybe people outside of the tech community are going to start paying attention and respond in case they get that issues put forth to them.
Well, I think you make a good point. I think that's the real problem, is that while we geeks know about these issues and care about them, nobody else does, and the mass of voters have no idea that there's an issue about that there's a threat to a free and open internet. They have no idea.
It's really hard to get them to care, though. I know I've been involved in sort of net neutrality campaigns in Canada for a long time, and it's really hard to get the mainstream population to care. I mean, as long as
they can't even understand it.
They can't understand it. It's even net neutrality does a disservice to the whole reason people care about net neutrality. The term is just awful, and it's hard to explain to the general media and the mainstream population as well. So I fear that they just don't care. That's
the thing that I worry about, is this just mass apathy about the whole thing. And it's very hard to get people excited about it. The only people who care are geeks.
Yeah, there's apathy about people, in terms of voting for the leader of the country. So, I mean, when you try to get them to care about the internet, I don't know where you're left.
They don't care about war in the Middle East, let alone the internet.
We just had a federal election, and again, one of the all-time, kind of close to an all-time low as far as voter turnout, and you try to push the internet in there, and I mean, it's a whole world of apathy.
Right. We're going to take a break, come back with more with our esteemed panel, our international panel for our Memorial Day show. But before we go any further, I'd like to talk a little bit about one of our esteemed sponsors, the great folks at Citrix, who do GoToMeeting. GoToMeeting is an online meeting system that you've probably tried these before. It is the best. It allows you to meet easily with colleagues, clients, even if you're traveling or moving around. Especially because they've got that great iPad app. Now you can go to meetings with your iPad, and I love that. I want you to try it right now, Mac or PC. If you visit gotomeeting.com, click the Try It Free button and use the offer code TWiT, T-W-I-T, you get 30 days free. It allows you to set up a meeting on the fly, or while you're on the phone with somebody saying, I want to show you this, here's a link. Or ahead of time, it's got a great invitation system. It includes built-in free telephony, voice over internet, or telephone, so that the conference bridge and everything is automatically set up. In fact, these days, we use GoToMeeting even when we just want to do a teleconference, because you never know. You might want to show the screen, and it makes it so easy to set it up, and we've already paid for it. It's built in. It's absolutely free. GoToMeeting.com, click the Try It Free button, and use TWiT as the offer code to give it a try. 128-bit SSL, so it's secure. It works on Macs, PCs, and yes, there's a great iPad application that's absolutely free. If you've got an internet connection, you could be meeting in seconds, whether it's clients, whether it's colleagues, whether it's new prospects that you want to pitch. There's nothing better. GoToMeeting.com. Use the offer code TWiT. We'll go from a heavy subject to a light subject, but it'll get us into the Facebook. And there's quite a bit to say about Facebook. I think this is just weird. According to Fortune.CNN.com, Mark Zuckerberg now no longer eats anything he doesn't kill. Oh, you're probably a vegetarian, so this would be easy for you. Oops, wait a minute. Let me turn you up.
I mean,
say again. I'm sorry.
I said I don't kill my meat. Simple reason, there has been a reason, we've evolved and just live in the cities and have.
Let them do it. But don't you feel disconnected from the?
I don't.
Mark Zuckerberg. This is
so weird.
He says the only meat I'm eating is from animals I've killed myself. I'm eating a lot healthier foods, and I've learned a lot about sustainable farming. You have to say that. I kind of admire the moral point of view that, well, I'm not going to eat it unless I look it in the eyes. He says on his Facebook page, he says, I just killed a pig and a goat. He says it's just very strange. Every year he fixates on a personal challenge. For instance, I didn't know this. In 2009, he wore a necktie every day.
He learned Chinese last year, too.
Last year he learned Chinese. This year, he's killing pigs.
It's so strange. What I wonder about this whole story is, how does Mark Zuckerberg have time to go out and kill his own meat? I mean, when there are people out there, especially with young people, and there's all these privacy issues, and there's issues with Facebook in general as far as people, I don't know if it's jeopardizing kids' futures, but I know a lot of young people who are writing things on there who shouldn't be writing them. They don't understand the settings. The navigation is terrible. And all I kept thinking, when he actually has time to go out and kill a goat and a pig, shouldn't he be focusing on privacy? Really?
Very good point.
Oh, come on. Even presidents have time to, relax and, I don't know, kill a goat if they want to. Well, they have even more responsibilities.
To actually go out and, it takes a lot of time to go out and find a pig to kill in a suitable environment, kill the pig, take it back, take it to a butcher. I mean, that's a long process.
He started with...
It's not like he's golfing.
He started with... Well, it's instead of golf. He started with a lobster. He started with sea creatures. He says the lobster was a difficult kill, at least emotionally. He cooked it live. He says the most interesting thing was how special it felt to eat it. I'm sorry. I can't go on.
It's really easy to make fun of this, but honestly, why not? I mean, trying to live from... You never see where what you eat comes from.
I do admire that.
It's... and also, it's so fun to have a tech billionaire be eccentric. Maybe he can be some sort of Howard Hughes or something.
That's very true.
I don't know, though. I think I kind of liked it, and pardon the pun, before Zuckerberg came out of his shell. And the reason I say that is because, seriously, The Social Network, the movie, before that movie came out, you never heard anything about his personal life. And now he's sharing pictures on Facebook, talking about what he eats, his hobbies, his pastimes. I don't know.
Well, that's a good point. He has come out of his shell. Now we know way too much about him.
We know too much. And he is very eccentric, and I applaud the idea of killing your own meat and everything, but I just think, in his role, and I just wonder personally just how he has time to do it. But also, I just think, gosh, why, what has prompted him to is he enjoying this celebrity a little bit? He's
just getting weirder and weirder. And now he said something a couple of days ago that actually got my dander up. He said, privacy anxiety. He said, you'll get over it. No big deal. What are you so worried about? He says, every time he was speaking at the EG8, by the way. He says, we'll roll it out, and pretty often there'll be this backlash. And people will say, okay, we don't like this new thing. I think, a real anxiety. People were really afraid of more people being able to be involved in the social network. This guy completely doesn't understand what we're upset about. People thought that, it was just too much, right? They wanted to share stuff on the site, but they didn't want it to be so much in people's face. Now it's just part of the site that I think most people in a way would be like, what's going on? How can there be a Facebook without this? He says, it's just anxiety. You'll get over it. What are you so worried about? That's very self-serving. Here's a guy who's got a problem, if you ask me.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, tell them to friend, I have family members who are teens who, some of the things that they're sharing openly on Facebook, they don't understand how to control any of the settings. They're sharing their phone number, their home address. And I'm sure it's a parental issue as far as monitoring what their kids are doing. But the parents and the teachers don't understand the privacy settings either within Facebook. So it's an issue where I think Facebook hasn't taken enough responsibility. And when he says things like that, just kind of in stride, I mean, it just downplays what I think is a really serious issue about the future of kids and using these sites.
It really comes from, maybe you know better, because you know this guy, but it really comes from, to me, a complete misunderstanding of how people feel about privacy. He's essentially saying, no, you really want, he said this before, people's lives are better when we're connected. All of this stuff about privacy, you should let go of that. It does, it just happens. It's very self-serving because his business, the more we allow him to share, the more money he makes. But I think he genuinely believes that privacy is a dumb thing, except, I don't know, maybe when it comes to himself.
I think there's one issue, and I'm not trying to defend Mark here, but I do feel that the next generation of users think very differently about privacy and how they use the internet, whereas some of us who are a little older, or even, not as old as me, for instance, you are uncomfortable with the, the lack of privacy, so to speak, on many of these social networks. And I think we can't ignore that fact. I think that is a legitimate issue out there. And, as far as, the way I look at privacy is that you kind of have to make choices on like what you say and what you don't say in public. And I think that all of that is going to come from education. And education, that comes with using the internet, not some, our schools teaching or our parents telling us what to do as kids. So I think that there is the culture itself is lagging the technology in that sense.
Dana Boyd has said that. She studies young people and, says that the young people treat privacy differently, that we believe that privacy is a default, so we're upset when it fails us, and that young people understand that you actually have to say, I want it to be private, otherwise it's not. But she also says that privacy is maybe not the right phrase for this. She says we want control over the flow of information, understanding where what we say goes, and controlling who gets to see it. I guess that's how I understand privacy. But
well, I think you also that term. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
No, please do.
Well, I was just going to say that term digital reputation management is being tossed around everywhere. And maybe that's a better phrase to use. And as much as I agree with in terms of people, younger generation caring less about privacy, the issue is they're still coming into a workforce where the people who are hiring them care about them sharing things online, and they're getting scholarships where they're getting these scholarships or winning these scholarships from schools that are looking at all their online profiles. And, it's going to be a while before that really young generation who doesn't care as much about privacy, gets into positions where it's going to equal things out.
I confess I'm the wrong guy to talk about this, because I apparently have no no censorship, no filter at all. I have no boundaries at all. So I live very publicly, but I see how this upsets people, and I feel like that Facebook is a little disingenuous, to use your word, Patrick, about what they're up to. They act as if, well, you'll want this, when in fact, really, who wants this is Facebook.
Well, yeah, that's true, of course, and I think you all made good points in the fact that we absolutely need to know more about what our privacy settings are. I think people like maybe us just assume that anything we put out there on Facebook, be it private or public, should be considered okay if in case it ever leaks. Right. So we're sort of careful. I think I took a line from your book there, Leo. But just to be fair to poor Mark, who we're ganging up on today, I think one thing he was mentioning where he has a case is the fact that whenever he puts up a new feature, and that's true of everything on the internet, whenever anything changes, people are going to be pissed off. And everyone was threatening to quit Facebook. I'm looking at you, Leo.
Yeah, I quit.
You know, and yeah, you did, but you came back, and all these issues are not exactly. But no, I mean,
I'm not happy about it, but I just you have to. You can't be on. In fact, this is one of the things I hate about Facebook.
Well, if you really. Okay, let's put your case aside because it's sort of a special case. But a lot of people were unhappy, were expressing their anger very, very vocally. And in the end, that anger sort of fell back and no one is incredibly upset about some of the features that Zuckerberg has.
I think that's
that
only
Facebook
because
has introduced.
I think that's only because we just gave up.
Yeah.
Not things like the feed. He was mentioning in his speech when the feed just arrived. I think it was 2006 or 7, very early in the life of Facebook. People were in uproar. You know, it's that thing of changing a feature or piece of the interface.
No, I agree. I know what you're saying, and I agree with that in the sense that. But I think he's conflating two different kinds of anger. There is when anything changes. If I change, you know, when the backdrop behind me, people are going to be upset. Oh, your changes ruined it. You've jumped the shark. That's one kind of upset. Now, I understand that. People don't like change, and they get upset, and then they get used to it. But he's conflating that with, I think, the very real and legitimate concerns people have about Facebook's changing privacy policy and how hard it is to figure out what the hell is going on there. You know, from one moment to the next, you don't know what is going to happen to stuff you post there. And you're right, Patrick. The right assumption is just assume it's going to go public. Yeah. But that's not the promise they're making.
I agree, but I think he's doing that, absolutely, and it's absolutely because that's what Facebook wants.
It's convenient.
Yeah, no, completely. But I also think that we are doing that a little bit too in saying that users are still completely upset about every one of those new features that they were upset about when they were introduced. Things like, you know, tagging someone else on the photo. People realized, okay, it's no big deal. If I don't like it, then I delete it, or, you know, these kinds of little things. The general privacy setting, it's an understandability of the privacy settings is a huge problem. I agree. But not everything is to that level of, you know, DEFCON 5.
But it's not just privacy on Facebook. I would argue, just from someone who runs a business, I make a living by doing social media and consulting clients. And the reality is they change so many other things on Facebook on a weekly basis. Like if you want to have a contest on Facebook, every week they change the rules and regulations. And I just get this feeling, I don't know, Mark, I don't know who he works with at that top level, that these are a bunch of young people who are like, we'll change it this week, see what happens. And I feel like there's a lack of respect. Yeah, it's the culture, and it's an arrogance. And it feels like it's a lack of respect for users out there who depend on the service to connect with friends and family, to do business, and they just are, you know, switching things up kind of, you know, haphazardly. That's my opinion.
Is this the generation gap you were talking about, Ohm? Is it a bunch of young people at Facebook who don't get the concerns that us older people have?
I don't know, you know, if it's the people at Facebook who are like that. I think, but they have a culture of trying a lot of new things. And, you know, what I've seen is that, you know, Facebook as a company, you know, pushes to the very extreme, to the very edge, and sees how far it can push its customer base. And then when there is a pushback, so they pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
And then they do it again. And so they've won, you know, that movie, Any Given Sunday. Football is a game of inches. I think Facebook has adopted that philosophy when it comes to privacy and changes. I would say one thing about Facebook, at least they don't do no evil in their corporate They start with the assumption that they are going to do something.
Do you think Google is as bad as Facebook?
I mean, these are big companies which have to make money, and they have their own agenda. I mean, we have to be naive to believe that these companies don't have their own agenda, right? Like, so whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Google, you know, they're in the business of making money, and there is this whole idea of them doing the right thing. Well, I don't know. You know, I don't want to sound too skeptical and too cynical about everything, but that's how, you know, life normally works out. It's just companies make money, and they'll do anything in order to further their own interests. And so that's okay. You know, we need to be just aware of that basic reality.
Although I think you can look at how the companies make money to understand better what their agenda is. I mean, Facebook makes money. Both Facebook and Google make money through ads. But Facebook makes money by using the information you give it to allow advertisers to target those ads, and sometimes very personal information.
And Google makes money by taking money from people who sell fake pharmaceuticals, and
they're in a little trouble for that, aren't they?
and run infanticide ads in countries like India. So come on, I mean, it's like we start looking at everything. We all live in a glass house in that sense.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I guess that's true. Dick Costolo is going to be working for the president. Apparently, the CEO of Twitter will be named to an advisory committee to President Obama, according to the Wall Street Journal, among others.
See, that's something we don't have in France. Well, you guys have a
we may have it. I don't know if it means anything.
Oh, it means that the government is paying attention to the technology world, and you have, you know, a CTO, and we don't have anything like that. Maybe if we have, you know, if we had a CEO of some tech company and more involved in the government, we wouldn't have had the three strikes law. Or
it's the President's National Security Telecommunications Advisory Committee, or NSTAC, and along with Dick Costolo will be Scott Charney from Microsoft, Jamie Dos Santos, who's the CEO of a company called Terramark Federal Group, David DeWalt, president of Intel. Oh, no, I'm sorry, president of Intel's McAfee division. I forgot Intel bought McAfee. And Lisa Hook, CEO of Neustar. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any experience with these committees. I don't know how often they sit, how many recommendations they make, and most importantly, whether anybody pays any attention at all to what they say. Is it a sinecure? Is it, or is it a real job? I don't know.
I think there's no doubt, though, that Obama obviously recognizes that it's important to have companies like Twitter and Google and think about those companies and their leaders and have them involved in discussions about the future of the U.S. And so I think I fall into Patrick's camp here in the sense that it would be great to see my government in Canada.
What would Stephen Harper do?
Like Stephen Harper, honestly, I don't want to say he's one of the most evil leaders in the G8, but if you look up what Stephen Harper is open about sharing and how he does business, he has kind of locked down information in this company in this country in a way that we've never experienced before. And you know, we've been kicked off the Security Council, so need I say more? Wow. So he will not be involving anyone from an open technology platform in an advisory role. I highly doubt it.
Twitter is also in the news because they've furnished information to the British government, a British court, the name, email address, and telephone number of a South Tyneside councillor accused of libeling the local authority via a series of anonymous Twitter accounts. South Tyneside Council took the legal fight to the Superior Court of California, which ordered Twitter to hand over the private details.
So is that the first time this has happened, Leo?
It's supposedly the first time Twitter has bowed to legal pressure to identify anonymous users. Now, I have to say, I have some experience with this. We had, I don't know how much I want to say about this. There was a tweet that was problematic, and we got a subpoena, and we were able to track down the person who did the tweet. But it took court orders, several court orders to do it. It was a threatening tweet, and we wanted to make sure that it wasn't a real threat, not to myself, but to somebody else. And we had the local police and then had to subpoena. It was a number of processes we had to go through. It's not an easy thing to do. And Twitter doesn't give you that information. All they give you is an IP address. Then you have to go to the internet service provider, and from them you get the person's name. But we were able to do that. Ryan Giggs, who is a soccer player for Manchester United, was named as the plaintiff in a gag order preventing reporting of an alleged affair with a reality TV model. He's trying to get the names of Twitter users accused of revealing details against the injunction.
and it was retweeted by like 33,000 users.
Yeah.
And he wants to get the names of all of them.
He does? Not just the one?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Good luck. What's he going to do?
Yeah, no kidding.
But Twitter, no, I think Twitter says this, that if provided with a court order, we'll give you the information we know.
Mm.
Yeah, and in this case, they actually informed the guy. I'm sorry, the case before. Apparently, they informed the guy, and he declined to contest the subpoena, which is why they ended up releasing his information. So it's not as big as we all thought it was when the story first broke.
Had he fought it. And then there's Wienergate.
This is hilarious. This is so
I don't know what to believe on this one, but New York Democratic Representative Anthony Weiner's Twitter account Friday night featured a photo of a man in underwear with quite a bulge, apparently. The tweet was an @reply to a Washington State woman. Of course, the tweet was retweeted quite a bit. He says he was hacked.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, sure. I do love his response, though, I have to say. It is classic.
He deleted the lewd tweet and then tweeted TiVo shot, because I guess his TiVo he had tweeted that his TiVo hadn't recorded a hockey game. TiVo shot, Facebook hacked, is my blender going to attack me next? And then use the hashtag, the toaster is very loyal. At least he has a sense of humor about this.
Mm-hmm. A similar situation happened with a really well-known TV personality here in Canada, where he tweeted something that was obviously supposed to be a DM to someone people think he was potentially having an affair with. It was very embarrassing, and he said my Twitter account was hacked. And I think the good news is people learn very quickly about the difference between a DM and a reply.
Yeah, I think that's what happened. I think he didn't understand the difference between a DM and a reply. The woman deleted her account immediately. However, bloggers located her and identified her Twitter handle and found a second account. She's believed to be a journalism student in Washington State. And apparently in the original account she had tweeted, I wonder what my boyfriend @RepWiener is up to right now. Of course, that's why she got a picture of his crotch, or somebody's crotch. We don't know.
Wow.
I have to say, though, that picture is incredibly disappointing.
I didn't see it. You actually sought it out, eh, Patrick?
Well, it's in the article that
is it?
I think so.
Oh yeah, you're right.
See?
The great thing about
it's not impressive.
Yeah. I think the great thing about Twitter is that we can all be stupid and incredibly idiotic at a global scale in less than a second.
The whole world see.
Yeah. So,
oh dear. I think, Amber, you hit the nail on the head.
Care, are they?
Well, this will blow over.
Just gonna go. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, though, his response and the fact that it was humorous, if he just said nothing and closed down his Twitter account, this would have been a very different situation. So I think he kind of alleviated some of the drama by just responding, being kind of funny and using a quirky hashtag. He kind of, in some ways, even though obviously he doesn't totally understand how to use Twitter, if he did publicly do this, he understands that, it's important to reply quickly and to use some humor as well and kind of pull things off.
I believe this is the advice Amber gives in Power Friending, as a matter of fact.
He must have read it.
Yes. He must have read your book. Use a clever hashtag. When caught red-handed.
That's the next book, all right.
Use a clever hashtag. I know you're a big fan of Jacob Nielsen, the user interface guy, the usability guy. He just did a study of iPad apps, which we're going to talk about in a bit. And Samsung's lawyers get a little uppity in their lawsuit with Apple. We'll talk about that in just a second. Before we do, though, I'd like to mention our friends at Ford, sponsors of our photo show, the Mostly Photo Show. Visit the website, Mostly Photo Adventures. We'd love to have you participate. We have the way this works is we have a little contest going on Mostly Photo, where people submit photos to our Flickr group, which is Mostly Photo, one word on Flickr, and we pick three of our favorites in a particular subject. I think light was the subject this week, and then you get to vote on them via Twitter. You can go to mostlyphotoadventures.com, click the finalists tab, and you'll see what the three finalists are: Jamie Martirano, Jared Ropalato, and Monty M. These are incredible pictures demonstrating the use of light. I think they're really, really gorgeous. But which is your favorite? One of them will win a $100 gift certificate from Amazon.com, thanks to Ford. So there you go. Mostlyphotoadventures.com. And while you're there, take a look at the all-new, 100% redesigned Ford Explorer. Just a spectacular automobile with room for 7 passengers, best-in-class V6 highway fuel economy, 25 miles per gallon, in a gorgeous automobile. We rent them every time we have a photo walk because it's got the 3 rows, so there's lots of room for 7 passengers, and yet also lots of room for gear or your family. I'm a big fan of Ford, as you know, and I think this new Ford Explorer is spectacular. In fact, tons of cargo space if you fold down the seats in the 3rd row. Lots of power for towing, 5,000-pound towing capacity, and still great mileage. And, of course, the My Ford Touch with available sync is fantastic. Visit it at mostlyphotoadventures.com. Don't forget to vote for your favorite photo. And then tune in Tuesday when we pick our winner. We do the show 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern at live.twit.tv, mostly photo, or go to twit.tv/photo and download previous episodes. You're watching This Week in Tech with our guests, Amber MacArthur, Malik, and Patrick Beja, our international crew. Well, all but you and me, So there's a little lawsuit going on, Samsung and Apple. Apple says Samsung stole everything from the iPhone and the iPad. Samsung countersued, and now, I love this, I don't know if this is going to succeed, Samsung's lawyers have asked in discovery that Apple send them the iPhone 5 and the iPad 3. Just so, you know, they can take a look. And this is just like, are they serious, or is this just like, neener?
Well, Apple got the right to see the Samsung prototypes.
They asked for the Droid Charge, yes.
Yeah.
The Droid Charge, the Infuse 4G, the Galaxy S2, and the new Galaxy Tab. So, quote, Apple could determine if these products could be part of the lawsuit. So Samsung said, okay, well, we want to see the iPhone 5. I love it. When you can't compete, litigate.
They'll get it, but it will come attached to Steve Jobs' arm.
Yeah, with a bracelet. The court sided with Apple because review units had come out of most of these and photos and so forth. So it wasn't giving up anything that people hadn't already seen. But I'll be very curious to see if they say to Apple, you better, if they do, then they're clearly not paying attention. We'll see. They say by June 13th.
This would be good for the Apple rumor website.
Yeah, Gizmodo's going to love this.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
It's too fun.
They say if final versions aren't available by June 13th, we'll take the most current version.
I bet they will.
This is great. This is great. This lawsuit's going to go on for years and give us lots of material.
It's like the Winklevoss twins.
Yeah, going to the Supreme Court now, living right up to those characters that were created for them in the movie The Social Network. They're exactly like that, apparently.
Yeah. So I have a question about all these lawsuits. Seen from here, from France, it seems like every other day you have a new one, and they're all more ridiculous than the other, and it's just a game of lawsuits.
The problem is we have a very broken patent system in this country.
Right, but does it mean that they're all ludicrous, or are some of them actually valid?
I don't know. Ohm, what do you think?
You know, there's so many of these, you can't tell which ones are valid and which ones are not valid. I do think there is this one between Samsung and Apple might actually have some legs. And
you think Samsung stole Apple's trade dress?
No, but there is like this one might actually end up in some kind of out-of-code settlement between the two companies. I mean, it seems there is enough on both sides to kind of have to deal with it in a more effective way. I think just like you had the lawsuits between Nokia and Qualcomm, and those resulted in settlements. So there may be some stuff which might happen on this one. But otherwise, I just see like a lot of the other ones are a lot, I can't even tell. Like I've actually stopped trying to figure out.
I guess my general feeling is even if there's merit, just stay out of court. Just spend all that energy and money and time and make better products.
I agree.
That seems to me a better use of your time.
It's too much.
Your friend
the lawyers in the company.
Well, that's the problem is that Apple has a building full of lawyers. They got to do something. Your friend Jacob Nielsen, Amber, the Nielsen Norman Group, just did a comprehensive study of apps on the iPad. They gave 16 study participants access to the NPR app, Flipboard, The Daily, and the Amazon app, among others, to see if they could figure out how to use it. They had 2 months with these apps. And according to the Nielsen Group, people have no clue how to use iPad apps.
This story kind of drives me crazy. You're right. I do love Jacob Nielsen. I followed him forever in his usability studies. But can you really call 16 people a comprehensive study group? I mean, when I read that, I just somehow had doubts because I look at my own experience with my son who just turned 2 years old.
And he can figure it out?
He knows how. He plays Angry Birds. He's on like level 14. I mean,
he's 2?
He's 2, and he knows how to use. He probably uses about 6 or 7 apps right now. He's not toilet trained. He can't
use the toilet, but he can use an iPad.
Yeah, and so I'm wondering who are these people who they found, because I understand that apps, obviously there are different apps. Some are easier, some are more difficult. But the reality is people choose apps based on their own preferences and hobbies and things that they like. And so to just give people a bunch of random apps and say, okay, start using this, and not know enough about the background of these people and their interests and their technological skill set, I just think 16 people in a study like this, it's a great headline, but is it really a
all right?
Story?
Let me. This is just some of the things they suggest. I agree with them in one respect. Every iPad app has a different UI.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's because there's no standard at all. There's no menu bar. So all of them, you end up, and I think this is why little kids are good at it, trial and error. You end up just doing things, swipe, push, poke, and when something happens, a kid loves it. They go, oh! And that's why little kids are better than adults. Adults are saying, there's got to be some sense to this.
I think, Leo, the thing with iPad and kids is exactly what I was talking about, young people and privacy and Facebook, is that they have a whole different way of thinking about things. Touch is a very natural interface, and they can figure it out very easily, especially when it comes to games or educational software, which prompts them to do things. They would have done these things in real life. Yeah. I think those are the applications which are being successful. I think there is a reason why Angry Birds is so successful. There is a proper touch physics behind it. It just didn't happen. So they thought this one through, that how can anybody use it without having a learning curve? And I think when you look at something like NPR app, that is a brilliant app, and anybody can use it. I say the same thing about the Amazon app. It's the same thing. I would not say the same thing about the other two you mentioned, right? The Daily and Flipboard, they're a work in progress just yet. And so I think, and first of all, to say that 16 people are a comprehensive study, I don't think so. When you think of an iPad, you have to stop thinking of it from a predictable user experience that you are used to on a computer. And I think that's where, all these apps are created and apps are reviewed with a PC mindset. I think that's exactly what is going on right now.
There's also a study that says French consulting firm Miratech. So this one's from France, Patrick. Just published a research report saying that people reading news on an iPad are skimming and can't remember what they read.
I'm sorry, I can't remember what you just said.
Readers are more likely to skim over articles on an iPad than in a newspaper. 20% of users have better retention when they read something on paper versus an iPad. There's no difference in the amount of time it takes a person to read an article on the iPad versus a newspaper. So they're not reading it faster. They're just remembering less. And on average, eyes linger longer on paper, implying more focused reading. People's gaze, they did eye tracking on this. People's gaze patterns when they look at a page are identical on an iPad versus a print newspaper. There's just something about it. People just aren't remembering it.
You know, I have to say, even without going to eye tracking, I don't know if you guys are guilty of that too, but I've been using on the iPad an RSS reader application, and I found that recently in the last few months, when I come across a story, if I don't get everything I need to know from the headline and I jump into the story and it's more than 3 paragraphs long, I sometimes don't even want to read it.
Headline.
I just go,
iPad users are easily bored.
There you go. I'll just get my information from, the either Twitter or podcasts but you need to condense it so much to grab my attention. Do you guys see that at all, or do you still read long articles?
I'm bored. Let's move on. I'm sorry. No, in fact, I think that's why Readability and Instapaper are so great, because, in fact, most of the time when you're doing content consumption on something like an iPad, you are skimming, but the ability to say, save that so that I can read that later, I think is very valuable.
But do you ever go back to that, Leo? Because, I mean, my experience always, I never go back to it because there's a sense of urgency online. We want information that's new, that's fresh. And so the idea of going back to news, I mean, that's how, I hate to say this, but that's how I feel when I get the newspaper on the doorstep in the morning, even though we still get the newspaper. It's like, 80% of it I kind of already know, right? It's
anxiety provoking.
Yeah,
I get the big New York Times. It's like, I can't get through that. When I get the New Yorker every week, it's like,
Can you just send me some headlines in a Twitter feed or something like that?
Tweet me.
Yeah. This is terrible, but my brother reads the Globe and Mail, which is Canada's national newspaper, pretty much from front to back every day. And so he reads it online, and I'll wait until he kind of tweets the best articles before I even think of diving into the site, because I know he'll kind of pick up some of the best stuff. So you have all these human filters around you, right, going through that longer content for you.
Yeah, that's the excuse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Your brother is your Flipboard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm sure he'll love to do that.
Do you ever do this to your brother?
Come on.
Swipe him?
Go faster.
Swipe.
Go faster.
Swipe.
I wish I could do that to some people, actually, that are a little wordy, because I find even just in general, people are taking too long to say something. You just want to move them on.
Swipe them. Pinch them
along.
Yeah, okay, I got the message.
Talking at you to you, friend.
I'm a pinch Patrick. We've seen Google's cloud service. Amazon. How many of you bought Gaga for 99 cents?
I'm Gaga out.
You're Gaga out?
Yeah.
Oh, Malik, I know you're a big Lady Gaga fan.
I didn't even wait for the 99-cent offer. I bought it on iTunes. So
you paid $11.99.
I paid retail.
You're a terrible consumer. Why did you do that?
I couldn't wait. I just wanted the album.
He is a Lady Gaga fan. I was joking.
I am. It's like she's the perfect new media star.
She's brilliant. I do have to say that she is using new media in such an impressive way. When you saw that Chrome ad, right? And I watched the Lady Gaga Chrome ad, and I thought, oh, well, those so superficial, her tweets, claws up, little monsters, stuff like that. And then somebody said, no, read her tweets. And she actually engages with her audience. She replies people. She's totally in there. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Amber, I'm sure, she's next book. She's going to be a case study. And
oh, she's phenomenal. And, she sent a tweet a while ago that was kind of inappropriate, and she actually apologized for it right away. And she's so connected to all of her fans. I totally agree with that. I think that she's done a great job of using a bunch of different channels in the social media world. I just find it's one of those things that's like Gaga saturation for me. I'm sort of, it's too much, right?
Let me ask you, though, do you think that's really her tweeting?
I don't know. I kind of think it is. And if it's not her, they're doing a great job of being authentic. Exactly. So it feels like her. But, then again, as far as authenticity, I feel like she ripped off Madonna. So that's a whole other conversation.
If Twitter had existed during Madonna's reign, watch out.
Watch out.
So
there is on my personal blog, omis.me, there is a video of this person who talks about Gaga ripping off Madonna ripping off somebody else, etc., etc. the music, as they say, the idea of original music is just going away. I think what Lady Gaga has done is establish that the media is a game of attention. It doesn't matter what platform you use, what channel you use, what methods you use. The more attention you get, the more the bigger star you are. The bigger star you are, the more you can monetize it. I think she embodies that attention economics better than anybody else. Her and Justin Bieber are two perfect examples of people who use the internet to their own advantage in a very effective. That's why will I remember her music, 6 months from now? No. Probably not. No. And I also listen to Lady Gaga just to annoy one of my colleagues.
You really want to annoy him? Listen to Justin Bieber.
No. This is like I just play some of Lady Gaga's songs, which basically makes me the devil in the company. So it's great.
I bought the 99 cent just because it was cheap. But apparently Gaga gets the same royalty whether you buy it from iTunes or Amazon. So essentially Amazon's making up the difference. Billboard magazine estimated that it was about $7.40 per purchase. There were 440,000 copies of Born This Way sold on Amazon during that 99-cent promo on Monday and Thursday. 440,000.
Wow.
Which means it cost Amazon about $21 million for this promotion. Was it worth it?
Well, it comes down to the cost of acquisition of a new user, right? It means that they paid $7 and whatever dollars to get a new user. Maybe they won't stick around, but still. It seems like not too much of a, not too high of a price to get a new user.
Yeah. Yeah, because those people now are buying music on Amazon. Some of them set up Amazon accounts they didn't have before. They know how to do it. They can now come back and buy another album. And they're using the cloud service, right? Because as soon as you buy even one 99-cent album, you've got 20 gigs storage. The upside for Amazon is great.
400,000 new users in 2 days of promotion seems like a definite win, no matter how you put it.
Yeah, and they get a lot of press. I just think it's hysterical that Ohm spent $11.99.
Like enough.
You could have got it for 99 cents.
I already have the cloud service, and as I said, I couldn't wait. Come on, it was my iTunes alerts. So.
We are all victims of these new technologies. That's really the fact here.
I wish I could be a victim.
You
Amazon
can't get it
thing
in France. Yeah. Can you get it in Canada, Amber?
I think so. I didn't actually buy it, but I think we can. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can.
Okay, get ready for this because we don't know yet, but it's presumed by all and sundry that Apple is now going to announce iCloud now that Amazon and Google have kind of stepped forward with their music services. Everybody agrees. In fact, there's a lot of evidence that they've already made. Unlike Amazon and Google, Apple is making deals with record companies. And here's what they're going to get. Because they've made a deal, right now with Google Music, you can put 20,000 songs up there, which is amazing, but you have to upload each and every one. So it took me several days to get my 6,000 song collection up there. Now it's up there. It's on my phone. I mean, I can stream it to my phone, my tablet, whatever. I like that. What you really want to do, though, is just kind of run some program that says, oh, yeah, you got that, and that. We'll just put a copy up there. And apparently this is what, according to rumors, this is what Apple's going to do with iCloud. They will scan your iTunes library and then put a high-quality copy of that same song on your iCloud without uploading. And that's why they're licensing it from the music companies. They'll even replace any low-bit track copies with a high-quality version, fully licensed. Now, unlike Google and Amazon, they'll probably charge you.
Well, we don't know. Google is probably going to charge you.
Maybe
this is the free beta now,
right? It was estimated that if Google had done a deal, that Google apparently talked to the music companies about this, and everybody, the music company said no to Google. They were doing things like saying, well, you got to charge $30 a year for this. But ultimately, they felt like Google was just a platform for piracy, and they didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Ridiculous. But it's probably, you know, that thing that Apple is probably going to do, which is scan your library and making everything available to you, is presumably what Amazon and Google wanted to do also, but couldn't. So they had to do that weird workaround where you have a locker in the sky, in the clouds. But Apple, ironically, is now the music label's best friends because Google and Amazon wouldn't play ball. It's quite an incredible turn of events and very lucky for Apple.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I think I'll definitely use it. I think it's a good thing. Just to be able to have access like that to all my music in the cloud. I mean,
Absolutely.
I'm constantly running around and I'm not near, my computer and my iTunes library, and then they're different on every computer. I mean, it's kind of a mess, to be honest with you right now. So the idea I could just have it in one place and be able to access it anywhere online is a huge advantage. And hopefully it happens soon.
I wouldn't write off Amazon. I don't know I think Google, as usual, has kind of fumbled this one, but I wouldn't write off Amazon here. I think that they're doing so many interesting things. I think this Gaga promotion was huge. Do you know that they launched a Mac download store this week? I don't think it got a lot of attention. If you go to Amazon.com, good luck finding it. But they launched a store that will allow you to download apps for Macintosh, just like Apple's own app store.
Well, how is it a store, though? It's not a piece of software that you install on your Mac.
No.
It doesn't automatically download and install the software. It's just a page with lots of Mac software.
Yeah, for download.
Right. But really, that's such a big deal? I guess you get the rights to it, and then you can reinstall it, the software you buy.
Yeah, it has a lot of the advantages of Apple Store without a separate app. Is that important to have an app?
No, but I mean, the big aspect of the app is also that it automatically installs and updates, I'm sorry, of the App Store and updates your apps. I don't know how this is different from just a regular Amazon page.
Don't you think it's interesting, though, that Amazon has now an Android App Store and a Mac App Store?
Oh, yeah. I mean, no, this is regarding what you were saying earlier. Amazon is going to be, apparently, it's very likely that within 6 to 12 months, we're going to see Amazon emerge as the one competitor no one expected to Apple in that whole mobile world. They're doing everything right, and they've been doing everything right for the past few months.
How important is it?
Services
how important is hardware to that? Is it Amazon, of course, is rumored that they'll have 2 Android tablets. One will be a quad core before the end of the year. Is that a key to the whole thing?
Essential. Yeah, they have to, in that world, they have to control the experience, which is what Google is also, I'm sure you guys will agree, but they're also trying to get their house in order a little bit and racing to get things cleaner.
Do you think Amazon's a good bet right now, Om?
Absolutely. I think I think we have to just take a little step back on this. This is a business this is an effort which is going to be put, services like download.com, which is owned by CBS, on the defensive, number one. Number two, the Amazon's business is to sell things, whether they are physical things or digital things, whether it's video games, music, software. If apps are what people want to buy, they're essentially selling those. And what they're going to do when it comes to tablets, they're thinking about tablets or Kindle or whatever it is as a way to sell more digital goods. They're not selling hardware, they're selling digital goods. So they're coming at it from the exact opposite end of the spectrum versus Apple. I think they have, both these companies have very clear strategies. And I think Amazon is taking the right approach. They're being very methodical. And what they have is what Google still doesn't have, is access to people's purchasing, information. They have one click and you can start buying whatever you need to buy on Amazon. That is an incredibly powerful asset they have, and they're leveraging it across different verticals, whether it is the Android store or the Mac store. Why shouldn't they be doing like a Windows store or Amazon, Windows store?
I'm sure they will.
Yeah,
that's
next.
It's like,
I mean, if people want to pay for software and they can make it easy to buy, why not?
Well, and Microsoft Office, which is on sale on the Mac Store, is a lot cheaper on the Mac Store, and you can use it on 3 computers.
Right.
And exactly corresponding to what Om is saying, look at the MP3 service that they offer from Amazon to Google. You can't even buy anything on Google's store.
Yeah.
That's a major flaw. This is why, you know, Amazon could afford to antagonize the music labels. I'm talking about that, you know, music service specifically, but they could afford to antagonize them because they already had the deals to enable the selling of music. Google could not afford to antagonize them, and they did it anyway because they're Google.
Right.
And there's such a comfort level, I think, with Amazon. I think of my mom, for example, who's 67, and probably the only place she's ever bought anything and felt really comfortable about the online purchase is on Amazon.
No,
you know,
absolutely.
Just having known that site and that brand and trusted it for so long.
2 things: One Click and Prime. Guarantee that I will always look at Amazon to buy something before I go anywhere else.
You know, Leo, I wrote a post recently, and in last 5 years, the amount of money spent by us on Amazon per year has doubled. And that's primarily because of, since 2006, and that's primarily because of the availability of, you know, Amazon Prime and a lot more of these digital goods.
When you say us, you mean the Malik family, or you mean us Americans?
The average Amazon
American
customer.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is, I think, when you make it that simple, when it's one-click purchasing decision,
Huge.
And when it comes to digital goods, it is actually, we don't even think about it.
It's not real money.
Right. It's almost like a game. You know, we click, it downloads. It's only, you know, it's only couple of dollars, right? But the impact of that over 12 months is massive.
Oh, yeah. I don't like to look at my Amazon bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, which part of culture and you know, intellectual property are they not serving right now? They have video, music, apps, books, obviously, with the Kindle. They have everything. All the pieces are falling into place.
Yeah, and the Kindle is selling very well. They
More
said,
than physical books.
That's right. And they said this new ad-supported Kindle, the $114 Kindle, is the best-selling Kindle they've ever made. It's already outselling the previous Kindles.
That one I don't get. For $20, you're going to
save $25. I bought it. It's, you know,
you don't count. You buy everything.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I actually bought it by accident. I one-clicked. I didn't even know. It arrived, and I said, did I buy that? And that's exactly your point.
You have a problem, Leo.
No, I have a problem. It's Om's point exactly. It's too damn easy.
Yeah.
I just pushed a button.
That's how I feel about apps in general. I keep buying apps. And, you know, some apps can get expensive. I just bought an app recently for $13.99, and it just adds up. And at the end of the month, you just can't believe you bought so many.
Yeah.
It's not good.
Yeah. Hey, as long as we're talking about Amazon, I want to talk about one of our fine sponsors, which happens to be an Amazon company. We're talking about Audible.com, the audio bookstore. This, I tell you, the new Amazon Kindle, I was really surprised. I thought this was a very interesting use of integration. When it's your account, so you open it up and it has all your books. It also had all the the Audible books I'd ever purchased, and it would automatically be downloaded to the Kindle. I don't know if that's on other Kindles or if it's just the new Kindle, but it's certainly where Amazon's going forward. And I love it because, you know, now I've got my audio and my Kindle books all available on the same device. Audible.com/TWiT2. Here's how you get involved with Audible. If you've never listened to books before, we understand maybe that's a little scary. Maybe you want to try before you buy. Well, go to audible.com/TWiT2. You get 2 books free. You sign up for the Platinum account. That's 2 books a month. Your first month is free. The books are free, and they're yours to keep forever. Cancel at any time. Every time I actually, it's bad because every time I go to the Audible page, I go, ooh, here's another interesting book. Ooh, The Believing Brain, From Ghosts to Gods, about how we construct beliefs and reinforce them. See, I can't wait to read this. It's like going to a great bookstore. And the neat thing is about Audible is that, you know, you can listen to these in your car, at the gym, as you're cleaning the house. So there's so many places that you can listen to Audible books that you really couldn't be reading anyway. This is the one. This is next on my Audible listen list. I love David McCullough. I love his voice. I love his writing. He's one of the great historians. And I think you'd like this, Patrick. It's called The Greater Journey, Americans in Paris. It's about American artists, writers, doctors, politicians, architects who set off for Paris between the years of 1830 and 1900. And, I mean, so many great American cultural icons like Ralph Waldo Emerson, Mark Twain, Oliver Wendell Holmes, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Harriet Beecher Stowe lived in Paris as they created. So this has got my two favorite things, Paris and David McCullough. Listen a little bit to The Greater Journey, Americans in Paris. David McCullough, you'll recognize his. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, he doesn't read it. Edward Herrmann reads it, who is also great, another great actor. And I'm not getting any audio from it. That's my fault. I'm doing something wrong. That is, by the way, one of the nice features on the Audible site, audible.com/twit2, is you can listen to any book, preview it, and see how you like the reader and so forth. So there's one book. I see that another one of my all-time favorites has been named as the best audiobook of the year, won an audio award. Keith Richards' Fantastic Life.
So good.
Did you read that, Amber?
Yeah, actually, that is so good. And another one that was recommended, Sarah Lane recommended it on Audible to me, is Bossy Pants by Tina Fey. Yeah. And she narrates it, and it's fantastic. She's phenomenal.
See, here's the problem. You get to Audible, and you can't stop. It's like candy for your brain. Audible.com/twit2. If you haven't yet tried Audible, give it a try. Bossy Pants is the #1 book right now on Audible. And then the David McCullough book is the #2 in their top downloads. Oh, wait a minute. The zombie apocalypse is coming. Wait a minute. You see? And I start reading the science fiction. These are all zombie books. Oh, man. If you like Audible. You see? You can't eat just one. Audible.com/twit2. Get 2 books today. Absolutely free. But watch out. You're going to get hooked. Amazon bought them, well, it's been about a year. And I keep waiting for, you know what I really want? I want Whisper Sync on Audible. You know how when you're reading a book on the Kindle and then you read it on your iPad or your computer, it jumps to the last page you read on any device? I want that with audio, so that I could like listen to a book while I'm doing the dishes and then get in bed and then have my Kindle and it would jump to that page. I want that. But I know I'm asking a lot. Audible.com/twit2. I'll tell you, the internet is great for consumers. Ohm puts a link to this great song on his blog, ohmis.me. It's a Bruno Mars song. You've seen it, the Lazy song. But this is Leonard Nimoy in it, doing kind of a tribute to the dude, the Big Lebowski. This is such a great video. You're absolutely right, Ohm. I just love this video. For some reason, I'm not getting audio out of this. Oh, because I pushed the wrong button. There we go.
Today I don't feel like doing anything. I just wanna lay in my bed.
In a single stroke, Leonard Nimoy completely rejuvenates his career.
Today I swear I'm not doing anything.
So is this something that he did for promotional purposes?
You know, it's not the official Bruno Mars video for this song. But you got to figure, I mean, I don't know. What's the story, Ohm? Do you know?
I think this is just a special video I think he did or something.
It's so great.
This is pretty awesome.
It's so funny. He wanders out of the house. He's eating cereal out of the box. His neighbor waves at him. He goes, leaves, throws the empty cereal box on the lawn, and then walks to the drugstore in his slippers and bathrobe. Yeah, gives him the Vulcan mind meld. This is straight out of the Big Lebowski. This is a tribute to Jeff Bridges in the Big Lebowski. I'm sorry, I just.
It's a great song, too.
It's a great song. That's marketing. Get Leonard Nimoy. We're going to try to get Leonard on the show. He's a geek. Apparently, he's a photographer. He does a lot of great photography.
You're friends with Steve Martin now, Leo, so it's only...
Yeah, Leonard Nimoy, Steve Martin. What the hell?
Good company.
Superstars. couple more stories. We're going to wrap this thing up. Sony says we're going to restore PSN by May 31st. Unless we don't. Okay. You got to feel, for everything Amazon's doing right, it seems like Sony's doing something wrong. Congratulations to you, Malik. You raised another $6 million. You are now, Giga is now worth 40 million buckaroos.
Or so I've heard.
Well, I hope you put some of that in your pocket.
No, it's all into the company. We keep growing it, and hopefully, everything works out as we plan.
That's good. Are you looking to be acquired at some point, or what is your strategy?
We just raised capital. The idea is to grow this into a big business, and it's not just me. There is, 40 people who work at the company who work incredibly hard. And, we've pushed into subscriptions and paid content, and it's going incredibly well for us. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, HuffPo, how much did HuffPo sell to AOL for? What, one?
315.
315 million.
Yeah.
That's what I still can't get over, that they don't pay any of their bloggers or writers. I haven't gotten past that point yet.
Ariana likes nice clothing. Zynga is about to file for its IPO. Now, LinkedIn had a massive IPO a couple of weeks ago. I think are we going to start seeing a little heating up of the public offerings in the tech world?
I think the Zynga one will change the game quite a bit.
It's huge, isn't it?
Yeah. I think they have such massive revenue numbers, and they have such massive growth that they will eventually be the catalyst for a lot of the companies to go public. I mean, Zynga is the kind of company which can energize the IPO market.
They claim 250 million people actively playing their games every month.
Yeah.
Cityville, which I guess is a sequel to the very popular Farmville, attracts 90 million monthly users. Even the original poker game still got 35 million users. Didn't Lady Gaga do a Gagaville that's like a part of Farmville? $400 million in profit on $850 million in revenue. They're valued at $10 billion right now, but they'll probably go off at even more than that. Wow. Do you think we're in a bubble, Om?
No, I don't think, to call it a bubble is not right now. Give it another 12 to 18 months, and when you see more insanity, then we would be in a bubble. Right now, I think what we are is an overheated investment environment, and it's investments in a certain kind of tech company. What you're seeing is you're hearing about these companies and these fundings so much more often than you used to in the past. And it gets amplified on Facebook and Twitter so quickly, so you start to believe that there is an actual bubble. There is a bubble at the lower end of the spectrum where new companies are getting funding. If you look at LinkedIn, it's a pretty solid company. It's been around for almost 10 years. Yeah. I mean, just because it's the first new exciting technology IPO in a long, long time. So people are overpaying for it right now. And it's, it will find its own median.
It's pent-up demand.
There is. And I think bubble is when you start to see companies that have absolutely no fundamentals start to go public, and, everybody around you starts to talk about them. That's when things are incredibly crazy. Right now, market is extremely, extremely overheated. People are very excited. There's a lot of excitement going on in the Valley. That is still doesn't reconcile with the overall economy, right? The overall economy is still pretty slow. Right. Things are not going that well. But you also have to remember, because there is no other opportunity to invest in, a lot more people are interested in investing in technology now, right? Mm-hmm. So everybody is putting their attention on technology. That's why JP Morgan has like a fund for Twitter and social stuff. And, Goldman Sachs is investing in companies like Facebook. It's most of that is because there aren't that many growth opportunities elsewhere. The overall economy, to put it mildly, still sucks.
I just wonder what's going to happen to all these mobile companies, though, especially some of the mobile companies that have, they've gotten a couple $1 million and they have sort of one-hit wonders, like one game that has done really well, and then there's this pressure to come out with something else, but then there's obviously someone right on their heels. It just seems in the mobile space, particularly like said, with a lot of the, some of the smaller companies that are, you can get money just by having, a decent idea on the mobile front in a game that you project will have some revenue, and you see this all over the place right now.
But who's shown that you can do well with one hit is Rovio with Angry Birds. I mean, that's really a one-game company. They've just sliced it and diced it so many great ways that 200 million downloads of Angry Birds.
And also the Heist, the new game that just came out from the creators of Camera Plus. I was reading an article where I think they're getting a download every second since they launched or something astronomical.
Which is, by the way, why Lisa Bettany no longer hosts our photo show.
It makes sense.
She's making a little too much money on the internet there. That's keeping her pretty busy.
I think the thing Amber brought up a very good point. I think even Angry Birds is, has to prove that it's like Zynga. It can take one hit game and create a franchise of multiple games and multiple revenue opportunities. So I think this is, we can't, the thing is, if we could look into the future and predict it, we'll all be billionaires, right? So we can't. So right now, what we have is anecdotal information, and we're trying to project what's going to happen. I just think it's going to be a little bit more frothy over the next 12 months.
Mm-hmm. And there's very little loyalty, I find. If all of a sudden a game developer has come out with one mobile game and it's really cool, it's not as though, I'm following what that developer is producing next time around. So there's just not that loyalty there like there maybe were with some of the websites and, 10 years ago, a decade ago, where people were buying from sites and really latched on to the whole experience on the site. People don't really know who's behind what game's coming out. So I think that's also a tougher sell long term.
Well, if I were going to invest, it'd be in Amazon, it'd be in Zynga. I mean, there's definitely some companies that look strong. But fortunately, I do not invest in tech stocks, and that's why I'm not broke right now. Amber MacArthur is at ambermac.com. She's on the Twitter. She's on the Tube. She's got the great CommandN.TV show. And she'll be back on Monday for the Social Hour with Sarah Lane.
Actually, we shot early this week, so it'll be in lieu of a long weekend. A week from Monday, we'll be back on live.
What time do you do that show, 11 a.m.?
Yeah, 11 a.m. Pacific time on Mondays.
2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC, live.twit.tv. Malik is at gigaohm.com. And don't forget, he's got a great new newsletter, which you should all subscribe to, gigaohm.com/ohm-says. You all must get a copy because it's free. So why the hell not? More signal, less noise. Ohm, thanks for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Leo, for having me.
Always a pleasure. And Patrick Beja, who is a star in his own right. You can find out more at patrickbeja.com. He's not Patrick on Twitter. And he's got many great podcasts, including the Phileas Show, available on the internet. Thanks for being here, Patrick.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you all.
As always, a great pleasure.
Always fun. It's always fun. Thank you all for being here. We have a new show about ham radio that just started last week, and it's huge. Bob Heil, the guy who makes our mics and a ham in his own right, does it. Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Let's see. I have to do my math. That's right at is that 2300 UTC, I think. 6 by 12, 8, 17. No, it's 0100. Very early in the morning. And in a couple of weeks, they're going to start teaching me so I can get my ham license. It's called Ham Nation Tuesdays at live.twit.tv. Don't forget, we're selling the bricks. I want you to buy a brick for the Brick Twit House. Let me see if I can find that lower third. Bricks.twit.tv. You could be on our wall of honor in our new studio. For more information, I think it's $128 for the regular brick, which is like this. You can get 2 lines. You can put your name, your Twitter handle, whatever, your Facebook page, your website. And then if you want, you can also get a commemorative brick for your own home, suitable for throwing through windows at the EG8 forum. Brick.twit.tv. Thank you for being here, everybody. We'll see you next time. Another Twit is in the can.